It's slightly different. It's very big and I'm very small, but let's try, shall we? Let's jump in. Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Kai and something's a little bit different today. Unfortunately Alice is not feeling too clever, so we still wanted to do some recording, but unfortunately she won't be joining us. So you're kind of stuck with me, the Neanderthal, today, I'm afraid, for better or worse. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the 10 states with the most natural disasters. This is kind of a thing that does interest me about America as well, because in the UK, to be honest, the biggest thing we have is rain. Whereas you guys have tornadoes, you have tsunamis, you have hurricanes, and the list goes on, earthquakes, and God knows what else, some really high waves. I can't remember what they were called, some wavy stuff. But yeah, it worries me because, you know, if in the near future, well, not near future, but in the very distant future, we was to consider potentially moving over to America, where should we avoid, you know? So without further ado, let's jump in and have a look, shall we? Now, this is going to be a little bit different, I think. There we go. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is slightly different. It's very big and I'm very small, but let's try, shall we? So let's jump in.
You know how sometimes really big things happen in nature that have the potential to really screw up your week? Well, these things are called natural disasters. They happen suddenly, and they can wreck things like buildings, land, even people's life. In the United States, we face various types of natural disasters. Some of the usual ones are floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, wildfires, blizzards, tsunamis, and Gary Busey interviews.
Talk about buttered sausage, where it comes from, what it does.
This is a subject I'm asked about all the time. If that's something you need to know about,
I completely forgot about wildfires. That's really scary, actually. I saw a movie about that, and yeah, the ending wasn't very pleasant, but the movie was great. I can't remember what it was called.
I'm going to give you this video, but there's also a website I go to for a lot of this information. It's replaced Zillow as my favorite website. It's called Where Might I Live? And they got this wish list function. You could put down what you require. You don't want a bunch of natural disasters. You want low crime. You want good schools.
Okay.
Put all that in, and it spits out which counties in the United States are best suited for your criteria. They're not sponsoring this video. I just think it's a pretty cool website. There's a link in the description area below. Anyway, back to the natural disasters. When these disasters strike, they can mess up a lot of things. Houses can be destroyed, and businesses can lose a bunch of money that might take them years to recover from. Now, it's just not the loss of money and housing and all that. Some people go through one too many.
I assume you guys have like some form of business insurance to cover you for natural disasters, but then I know, isn't there a clause in insurance where like the act of God comes in and you're not entitled to a claim?
Many natural disasters in an area, and they decide it's time to move someplace else. I know more than a few people in Southern California that have moved because of the wildfires. Today we're looking at the states that reported the most natural disasters in 2022. Now, I'm also including how many times the federal government declared a natural disaster in a state since they started reporting those in 1953. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, New Jersey. New Jersey's had a lot of disasters. Not all of them are natural. You have the MTV show Jersey Shore. That was a disaster. You had all kinds of super fun sites back in the day. And there's a place called Camden, New Jersey. But the natural disasters come from New Jersey's densely populated coast. It's vulnerable to flooding, storm surges, erosion, rising sea levels. And during certain months and certain years, the water gets a little warm and gets a little tropical and kind of sucks hurricanes up that direction. They've been hit with quite a few over their history. Storm Surge Sandy was the worst natural disaster in New Jersey's history. It caused $83.9 billion in damages and 43 fatalities back in October.
$83.9 billion in damages. I can't even comprehend that amount. That's insane.
Of 2012. Hurricane Ida, which was the remnants of Hurricane Ida when it finally hit New Jersey. In 2021, it cost $80.2 billion in damage. And then, of course, Hurricane Irene hit in 2011. That took about $17 billion in damages. They've also had Hurricane Ivan in 2004 that cost about $32 billion in damages. So they've had some damage done to them by Mother Nature. The statistics that were released in 2022 were actually 2021 numbers. And that year, New Jersey declared 47 natural disaster areas, which sometimes included calling out the National Guard, things of that nature.
47 natural, oh my God. Okay, so if it's anything to go by, I'm not going to live in any of these states because that just sounds horrendous. Is there any like states in the US where nothing happens? Like just literally nothing's a little bit boring, but you know, a bit more like England, a bit of rain, okay?
Now, when it gets serious, like Superstorm Sandy, Hurricane Ida, and all those other ones, that's when the federal government gets involved and helps out. Every state has a handful of state emergencies every single year. But New Jersey called out 47 in 2021, and the federal government has called out 50 since it started reporting these in 1953. Number 9, Kansas. Kansas has a lot of things going on there. Dear. Tornadoes being the biggest one, flooding also, then you get ice storms.
I guess we learned about this in Wizard of Oz, right? Poor old Dorothy.
Lightning strikes that normally cause some form of fire, flash flooding, droughts, winter storms, all that good stuff. Kansas ranks second place for tornadoes from the years 1997 to 2022. They're ahead of Oklahoma and behind Texas. Yeah, Texas saw the most in that time. Now, back in the...
Jeez, I don't think this is a good ranking, though. I don't think I would want to be number one, you know? Number one most tornadoes. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Today, Kansas had some serious problems. They had an earthquake in 1867 in Manhattan, Kansas. 1875, they had a major locust swarm, which you don't hear that too often. And of course, in 1935, the Dust Bowl. Kansas is most famous for its tornadoes, thanks to The Wizard of Oz. Have you ever really thought about The Wizard of Oz? What happened in that movie? A tornado transports a young girl and her dog to a magical land where she kills the first person she meets and then teams up with 3 strangers to kill again.
When you think about it, it's actually pretty horrendous, isn't it? It's a bit of a horror story. Talking about horror stories though, locust swarms? Like, what? Like, we don't even have locusts here. Bugs, no. I can't imagine how many there are. Like, to be a swarm, it must be thousands. Was it just cover like the whole sky? I don't know. Like, oh, no.
In the 2022 report, Kansas declared 55 natural disasters, and since 1953, the federal government has declared 70.
Where are we going now?
Number 8, Florida. This one, yeah,
Florida?
It surprises me because with all the hurricanes they've seen over the years, you think this would be much worse. Sure, they're in the top 10, but I mean, just when you watch the news and the history of Florida, you think they have a potential to be in the top 2. They're not. I mean, until Manatee decide they've had enough and start attacking people. Florida sees a lot of different natural disasters. Hurricanes, obviously. They've had a few winter storms. They have storm surges, wildfires, and believe it or not, they average about 60 tornadoes touch down annually in Florida. Most of them don't rise, almost all of them don't rise to the level of, you know, major damage or a natural disaster, but they do get.
Imagine a tornado. Like, you know, you're just minding your own business and then kaboom, there it is. I guess it doesn't just appear like that, right? It's kind of, you see the signs, you can kind of hopefully evacuate and get out of the area, right? Let me know. I don't know anything about tornadoes, but I would hope that at least there's a bit of forewarning so you can just get the hell out of Dodge, you know?
Get them. And that's a fact. I've had to look it up a couple different times. I've had people complain, I've lived in Florida my entire life. I've never seen or heard of a tornado. If you're leaving that comment, I got some bad news for you. You get about 60 a year. But hurricanes are obviously what really does damage to Florida, and which chases a lot of people away. I don't have
60 a year is insane, to be honest. Like, I'd be scared of getting like you get 60 a year.
Time to list all of these hurricanes. Here's a couple of the biggest ones, and they're the bigger ones we've ever had in the nation. Hurricane Katrina. This hurricane was one of the most expensive natural disasters in United States history. Over $108 billion lost. That's not just in Florida, the entire thing. It is the 3rd most deadly hurricane in U.S. history. You had Hurricane Andrew, which just destroyed things. And in 1926, they had the Miami hurricane. This hurricane had 150-mile-an-hour winds, and it killed 372 people. The state of Florida in 2021 declared 61 natural disasters, and the federal government since 1953 has declared 130 in Florida.
Okay, that's a lot more than the previous ones. Damn.
Number 7, New York. I don't know, maybe it's because I've spent most of my life on the West Coast. I've never heard of many in New York. I know they get some serious winter weather, but they've been hit by some hurricanes, or at least tropical storms that have been devastating. Now, New York shares a lot of the same problems that New Jersey does. I mean, other than Camden. They're right next to each other, so it only makes sense. But they get severe storms, floods, winter storms, wildfire, tropical storms, tornadoes, land.
Geez, I mean, when I went to New York, I know it's kind of windy because, like, you know, with all the big tower blocks and stuff, you kind of get a natural sort of air, like wind sort of airflow, you know. But to have a storm, I can't imagine, like, you know, it's bad enough just windy when you're there, but to have a storm coming through must be pretty horrendous there as well.
Landslides and droughts in New York. New York's coastal location makes it susceptible to hurricanes and tropical storms every single year. Now, they don't always make it all the way up to New York, but it seems like every year at least one starts getting a little close and making people nervous. And then on the sad occasions, they hit. Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Ida, Hurricane Ivan. In 2021, they had a winter storm and cold wave that cost $25.6 billion to the area. They've even had a couple earthquakes. In 1944, they had the Cornwall-Messina earthquake, and in 2002, they had the Ausable Forks earthquake. But the big ones for New York State are going to be the winter weather. You had the 2004 Christmas Eve winter storm. They had in 2007 the North American ice storm. 1971, the Great Lakes blizzard. These have all done some serious damage.
Blizzard?
In 2021, New York State named 63 natural disasters, and the federal government since 1953 has declared 95 in New York State. Number 6, Tennessee. Tennessee sees a lot of different types of natural disasters.
No way.
And I'm not even talking about the...
That's one of our travel lists. We was going to go to like Texas, maybe Tennessee. Oh, man. It's just getting worse.
Their weird fascination with mullets and lamb chop sideburns. The natural disasters that Tennessee is prone to include severe storms, floods, wildfires, tornadoes, tropical storms, landslides, power outages. They're not really a natural disaster, obviously, but usually a natural disaster causes them and it creates bigger problems. They've even had a couple earthquakes. The most frequent natural disaster Tennessee sees is going to be the tornado. In 1952, they had the Oak Ridge tornado. In May of 2011, they had the major tornado breakout there. Flooding is another big one that happens in Tennessee. They have so many lakes, rivers, streams, creeks, whatever. They've got a lot of water everywhere. It causes a lot of flooding. In 2021, Tennessee declared 64 natural disasters, and the federal government has declared 69 since 1953. Number 5, Kentucky. In just the last 2 years, Kentucky has recorded several billion-dollar events. These events include the December tornado outbreak in western Kentucky, that was in 2021, the historic flooding in eastern Kentucky in July of last year, 2022, and the March 3rd windstorm. That one impacted pretty much the entire state. But they see everything. Wow. Severe storms, floods, like I said, tornadoes, winter storms, wildfires, tropical storms get up here occasionally, along with landslides and earthquakes. Earthquakes aren't a really big thing for them, but the tornadoes and the flooding really do some damage to Kentucky. In 2021, Kentucky declared 147 natural disasters, and since 1953, the federal government has reported 74 in Kentucky. Number 4, Oklahoma. This one is sort of a no-brainer. I mean, it's in Tornado Alley. Actually, where Oklahoma is located, it's known as the Eye of Tornado Alley. Most tornadoes in Oklahoma happen between April and June. The deadliest tornado in Oklahoma's history was in Oklahoma City in 1999, May 3rd to be exact. It was a F5 tornado. That tornado did $1 billion in damage, and 36 people died in that tornado, with another 5 that were in direct fatalities.
Okay, Oklahoma, I'm sorry, but that's a hard no from me. I'm not going to Oklahoma.
Oklahoma declared 155 natural disasters in 2021, and since 1953, the federal government has declared 173 natural disasters in Oklahoma.
Much higher than the others.
Number 3, Mississippi. Where do you start with Mississippi? I mean, the entire state can be considered a natural disaster. The Magnolia State sees severe storms, hurricanes, extreme heat and drought, tornadoes, floods, winter storms, landslides, and they've had a few earthquakes. Nothing major, though. They were another state that was hit by Hurricane Katrina in 2005, and April of 2011, the tornado outbreak, which killed in total all the states 321 people. In March of this year, President Biden declared major disaster.
Thank you guys. Like when you get hit by a reasonable hurricane and it does, I guess, substantial damage, like how long does it take that state or that region or the area to, like, you know, to sort of recover from the damage that's done? Like, I assume years, but let me know. I'm curious, because that is kind of a thing I worry about. You know, if you was to have a home over there, I know like you have so many disasters, but if they all get like kind of knocked down, surely you must be able to build them up pretty quick as well, because it's quite common from the sounds of things, you know, just going by how, like, through the list we've gone through so far, it's a shocking amount of storms, and you guys just cop it all, really, didn't you? I kind of feel sorry for you, you know, like I go out and there's a bit of rain and I'm moaning about it. You guys just get everything else. It's just ridiculous. Wow.
After straight line winds and tornadoes struck Mississippi. In 2021, Mississippi declared 202 natural disasters, and since 1953, they have had 75 major natural disasters that the feds got involved in. Number 2, Louisiana. When you're talking about natural disasters in Louisiana, right away you're thinking hurricanes. They have been hit by so many hurricanes. In my lifetime alone, it's insane. Obviously, the biggest one was Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Katrina's storm surge caused levee failures in New Orleans, flooding 80% of the city. Louisiana didn't get a break.
Damn,
Hurricane Rita hit.
of the city.
This Category 3 hurricane made landfall in southwestern Louisiana less than a month after Hurricane Katrina. Way back in '92, they had Hurricane Andrew. Then, of course, Hurricane Harvey, which was a Category 4 hurricane. It made landfall in Texas and Louisiana in 2017, causing catastrophic flooding and over 100 deaths. Now, back before I was born, they had Hurricane Betsy in 1965. It struck New Orleans, causing levees to breach and flooding in more than 160,000 homes. If I was going to build a house in New Orleans, I would put it on stilts like they do in North Carolina's Outer Banks and other places. I think Texas does that too, some of their beach cities. In 2021, Louisiana declared 327 natural disasters.
Whoa,
since 1953, they've had...
oh my God, that is double the previous state. That's literally double. And then, like, if, in comparison to the previous, oh my God, that's huge. In comparison to everything else, that's ridiculous.
79 major natural disasters that the federal government got involved in. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget one of our other channels is called The Sweet Life for Briggs. There's a link down below. We're starting to upload some videos here really soon. We've got a couple on there right now, but we're getting ready to upload a few others. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Texas. Yep, everything's big in Texas.
I don't believe
and that
it.
extends to their natural disasters. They get some pretty good ones out there. I would have thought Louisiana would have beat them, but no, here's Texas. That's obviously because it's a bigger state. They got a lot more land to have a...
I can't believe that Texas, Louisiana, and Tennessee are all in your top 10 states for most natural disasters. That's crazy. And we're gonna plan to visit Texas as well. I can't believe, like, that's such a shame actually, because obviously I'd love to visit Texas, and we most likely will, but I don't think I would ever want to live there if it's literally #1 most natural disasters. That just worries me. Having a house, just losing everything is, yeah, it's really daunting actually. That's kind of horrendous for you guys as it goes. That's crazy.
A lot more natural disasters. They get flooding, wildfires, tornadoes, hailstorms, sinkholes, erosion, and drought. They say
you get everything, literally everything. What?
An average of 132 tornadoes touch down in Texas every single year.
132 tornadoes a year. Oh my God.
They average 900 wildfires every year. Not
900 wildfires a year. Oh my God.
All of them get to epic proportion and require the National Guard or anything like that, but they got a lot of dry grassland that makes Texas particularly prone to wildfires. In its history, Texas has had the highest total costs associated with drought, severe storms, and winter storms. Now, they've been hit by some serious hurricanes.
How frequent are the wildfires dangerous? Well, that's the wrong word, because obviously every wildfire is dangerous, but how frequent do they cause a big problem to, you know, just residential areas and whatnot? Like, is that a frequent occurrence, or is it generally controlled before it gets to that point?
hurricanes. If everyone remembers a few years back, Hurricane Harvey just nailed the state. That one was so bad with the flooding and everything. People are, it's like if you owned a canoe, you could win back an old girlfriend from a really bad relationship. When Hurricane Harvey hit, I just noticed this. I was watching a lot of news at the time and watching what was happening there. And it kind of, I don't know, reignited my passion for life in a way, just to see people helping each other. They didn't need to help them. These are normal citizens helping, older women out of their homes that, were maybe in a wheelchair or walker. I just remember this one guy, like waist deep in water. He's got this older woman who lived a couple doors down from him, giving her a piggyback ride over a mile away in water just to get her to safety. There's so many things like that. I know it's a disaster, but it just kind of gives you hope for mankind when you see people doing things for other people that...
I think in a time of need, it's all about everyone coming together and helping each other, right? Like, it's kind of the whole point of humanity. We're here to work together, not against each other.
Not benefiting them, really. There was a quote, I think it's from a book or a movie. I heard it online, but it said, society works best when older men are planting trees they know they'll never have the pleasure of sitting in its shade. Natural disasters bring that out in human beings, and that's the best part about a natural disaster normally. Of course, then you have the other side of the coin when you have people, real estate people, developers, trying to buy homes of people that are still looking for their loved ones in Hawaii after that fire.
That's pretty horrendous.
One lady said she was getting 4 or 5 calls a day, emails, anything else. They got her information. They're trying to get a hold of her. She's trying to find like her aunt or something that's missing. Anyway, let me get off my soapbox. Texas saw 510 natural disasters in 2021.
Okay, so the previous state was 300, which was double the previous state. Okay, Texas is a danger zone, although it is big, right? So still, that's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Some of the early ones in the top 10 were like 50 a year, and Texas has 500. That's insane, guys.
Since 1953, the federal government has declared 255 major natural disasters in Texas.
Okay, I think that concludes the video. So let's go back to here. Right, well, that's worrying. Yeah, that I don't know what to say, really. That's pretty horrendous. You guys in Texas have it you have it really bad. I don't think I could barely handle a tornado or a hurricane. Like, I've never even witnessed such things. I think I've only been in one earthquake, which happened when I was asleep. So that was an interesting and shocking surprise. But other than that, yeah, it's very, very scary, to be honest. And I can only imagine what it's like to actually go through some of these natural disasters. Like, living through them it's just ridiculous and scary and horrendous. It's everything, really, isn't it? Yeah, okay, so that's 10 states that I probably won't be living in then. So how about some states that don't have natural disasters? Let us know in the comments, where we should look. Some nice safe spots, some safe havens, where I can set up shop and not have to worry about all these earthquakes, wildfires, hurricanes, floods, and everything else that goes with it. Yeah, it's just mind-boggling for me, to be honest. Absolutely crazy. Well, I guess that's all there is to say, really. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. Bye.